The courtroom buzzes with the familiar clatter of paper and murmurs of attorneys shuffling through their cases. The air is thick with tension, the kind that only comes from the expectation of justice being served. But today, there's something different, a subtle shift in the room, a warmth that lingers in the air. Judge Caprio, seated at his elevated bench, shifts his attention from the case files in front of him to the defendant standing in the docket. His eyes narrow for a brief moment, then soften in recognition. A familiar face, someone he's known for years. It's Mrs. Helen Carter, a schoolteacher from the town. Her presence brings a quiet sense of nostalgia. The judge adjusts his glasses with a deliberate motion, his voice laced with warmth as he addresses her. Well, if it isn't Helen Carter, you've been teaching here for how long now? Mrs. Carter offers a sheepish smile, clearly relieved at the recognition. She straightens up and nods, her tone light and slightly nervous. 25 years, Your Honor. I've been teaching at the local high school all that time. You've shaped a generation of students, Judge Caprio says, leaning back slightly. Can't say the same about my memory, but I do remember you. You've been a part of this community for as long as I can remember. There's a small chuckle from the gallery, a knowing smile between the two of them. It's a simple, unspoken acknowledgement of the years they both spent in service to the same place, their shared history woven into the very fabric of the town. As Mrs. Carter steps up to the stand, the room falls into a comfortable silence. The usual tension that accompanies courtroom proceedings feels distant, almost irrelevant. There's a sense of ease between her and Judge Caprio, a shared history that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. But they speak anyway, offering snippets of their past. The judge recalls the days when his children were in Mrs. Carter's class, remembering the way she always made sure every student was heard, every voice respected. You know, Helen, the judge begins with a smile, my kids still talk about the way you got them through those difficult years. I think they learned more from you than they ever did from me. Mrs. Carter laughs softly, her eyes glinting with both fondness and modesty. Well, I do my best. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. You know, your son once ate an entire box of chocolate chip cookies during a history lesson. The room chuckles at the memory, the seriousness of the case momentarily forgotten. The exchange is simple, but the warmth it evokes is undeniable. It's a reminder that the people in this room are more than just their titles or roles in the system. They are connected by shared experiences, by the ties that bind them together in this small community. The case is a simple one. Mrs. Carter stands accused of a minor traffic violation and speeding through a school zone while rushing to make it to class. The offense is small, hardly worth the time of a courtroom, but there it is. And yet, as Judge Caprio listens, he senses there's more to the story than the infraction itself. Mrs. Carter's expression is earnest as she addresses the court. Your Honor, I was just trying to get to school on time. I know I shouldn't have been speeding, but it was a hectic morning, and I was late for class. I'm sorry. Judge Caprio listens intently, his gaze steady. I understand the pressure, Helen, but you also know the rules. The safety of the kids in that school zone is important. It's not just about you getting to class. It's about all of us looking out for each other. Mrs. Carter nods solemnly, the weight of her responsibility clear in her eyes. I know, Your Honor. I'll be more careful in the future. It's a minor issue, a small mistake, but the judge knows it's not about the ticket. It's about recognizing the pressures people face every day and how easy it is to slip when those pressures weigh on you. The room quiets, all eyes on Judge Caprio as he leans back in his chair, taking a moment to reflect. He sees the earnestness in Mrs. Carter's expression, the deep commitment she has to her students and her work. For a brief moment, he considers the strictness of the law, the rules, the punishment. But then he thinks about the bigger picture. You know, Helen, Judge Caprio says, his voice soft but firm, you've been a staple of this town for so many years. What I'd like to do today is give you a warning, a reminder that we all need to be mindful of the speed limit, especially in school zones. But I also want to thank you for the work you've done here. There's a pause. Mrs. Carter looks at him, her eyes wide with surprise. You're letting me off? she asks, her voice thick with gratitude. Judge Caprio nods, his face breaking into a smile. Consider it a small token of appreciation for all the good you've done in this town. We could use more people like you, Helen. The moment hangs in the air, and there's a collective breath in the room, a sense of relief. Mrs. Carter's face softens, her eyes glistening with emotion. Thank you, Your Honor. I I really appreciate it. There's a soft murmur from the gallery, a feeling of warmth that spreads through the room. It's a small act of kindness, but it feels monumental in this place, at this moment. As the case concludes, the camera lingers on Judge Caprio's face, his expression thoughtful. Narrator, softly. In a world where everything feels so fast-paced and impersonal, sometimes justice feels like home. It's not always about the ticket, the law, or the punishment. Sometimes it's about understanding, about seeing the person behind the case. And in a small town, that's what makes the difference. Justice isn't always about strict rules or punishment. Sometimes it's about showing kindness, offering second chances, and recognizing the humanity in others. If this story moved you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. How has a moment of grace changed your perspective? Subscribe for more stories where real justice meets real humanity.